The air was thick with the stench of sweat, blood, and the metallic tang of fear. The crowd roared, a cacophony of voices that echoed through the cavernous arena. The Colosseum of Zorith was a place where the galaxy's most depraved came to indulge in their darkest desires. Tonight, the spectacle was particularly gruesome. A helpless alien woman, her luminescent blue skin glistening under the harsh lights, was being thrown into the piranha pit. Her name was Lyra, a member of the delicate and peaceful species known as the Luminarians. She had been captured by slavers and sold to the arena for a single purpose: to serve as bait for the ravenous piranhas that inhabited the pit. The creatures were genetically engineered to be larger, faster, and more vicious than their Earth counterparts. They were the star attraction of the Colosseum, and the crowd eagerly anticipated the carnage. Lyra struggled against her bonds, her wide, silver eyes filled with terror. She had heard the stories of the piranha pit, of how the creatures would strip their prey to the bone in mere seconds. She knew there was no escape, no hope. The slavers had stripped her of her dignity, her freedom, and now her life. The announcer's voice boomed through the arena, a deep, guttural growl that sent shivers down Lyra's spine. Ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourselves for the main event. Tonight, we have a rare treat: a luminarian, a creature of light and beauty, thrown to the piranhas. Let the feast begin. The crowd erupted into cheers as the gates of the pit opened, and Lyra was unceremoniously shoved forward. She stumbled, her bare feet scraping against the rough stone floor. The pit was a massive, circular arena filled with dark, murky water. The surface rippled ominously, and Lyra could see the shadows of the piranhas circling below. She took a step back, her heart pounding in her chest. She wanted to scream, to cry out for help, but she knew it was futile. No one would come to her aid. No one ever did. But then, something unexpected happened. A figure emerged from the shadows, a human. He was tall and muscular, his skin tanned from years spent under alien suns. His eyes were a piercing green, and they locked onto Lyra's with an intensity that made her breath catch in her throat. He was dressed in simple, rugged clothing, a stark contrast to the opulent attire of the spectators. The crowd fell silent as the human stepped forward, his gaze never leaving Lyra's. He raised a hand, and the announcer's voice faltered for a moment before he regained his composure. "What is this? A human dares to interrupt our entertainment? Do you have a death wish, human?" The human ignored the announcer, his focus entirely on Lyra. He took another step forward, and the crowd began to murmur, their curiosity piqued. "Let her go," the human said, his voice calm but firm. "She doesn't belong here." The announcer laughed, a harsh, grating sound that echoed through the arena. "And what do you propose to do, human? Fight the piranhas yourself? You're either very brave or very stupid." The human didn't respond. Instead, he reached into his belt and pulled out a small, cylindrical device. He pressed a button, and a blade of pure energy sprang to life, humming with power. The crowd gasped, and even the announcer seemed taken aback. "Very well," the announcer said, recovering quickly. "If you wish to die alongside her, so be it. Let the games begin." The gates of the pit slammed shut behind the human, and the crowd erupted into cheers once more. Lyra watched in stunned silence as the human approached her, his movements calm and deliberate. He knelt beside her and began to cut through her bonds with the energy blade. "Ooh, who are you?" Lyra whispered, her voice trembling. "My name is Jace," the human replied, his eyes never leaving hers. "And I'm getting you out of here." Before Lyra could respond, the water in the pit began to churn violently. The piranhas had sensed their prey, and they were hungry. Jace stood, pulling Lyra to her feet. He handed her the energy blade, and drew a second one from his belt. "Stay close to me," he said, his voice steady. "And whatever you do, don't let go of that blade." Lyra nodded, her grip tightening on the weapon. She had never held a weapon before, but the warmth of the blade in her hand gave her a small measure of comfort. The first piranha lunged from the water, its razor-sharp teeth glinting in the light. Jace moved with lightning speed, slicing the creature in half with a single stroke of his blade. The crowd roared in approval, but Jace didn't have time to bask in their admiration. More piranhas were coming, their numbers seemingly endless. Jace and Lyra fought back-to-back, their movements synchronized as if they had been training together for years. Jace's blades danced through the air, cutting down the piranhas with deadly precision. Lyra, though inexperienced, managed to hold her own, her fear giving way to a fierce determination to survive. But the piranhas were relentless. No matter how many they killed, more seemed to take their place. Jace's movements began to slow, his breath coming in ragged gasps. Lyra could see the exhaustion in his eyes, but he refused to give up. "We can't keep this up," Lyra said, her voice barely audible over the roar of the crowd and the splashing of the piranhas. "We don't have a choice," Jace replied, his voice strained. "We either fight or die." Lyra nodded, her resolve hardening. She would not die here, not like this. She would fight until her last breath. Just as it seemed they were about to be overwhelmed, a loud explosion rocked the arena. The crowd screamed in panic as the walls of the pit began to crumble. Jace grabbed Lyra's hand and pulled her towards the nearest exit, his strength renewed by the hope of escape. They ran through the chaos, dodging falling debris and panicked spectators. Jace led them to a hidden passageway, one that he had scouted earlier. They emerged into the cool night air, the sounds of the arena fading behind them. Lyra collapsed to the ground, her body trembling with exhaustion and relief. Jace knelt beside her, his expression one of concern. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice gentle. Lyra nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for saving me." Jace smiled, a rare and genuine smile that made Lyra's heart skip a beat. "You're safe now," he said. "That's all that matters." As they sat there, catching their breath and basking in the quiet of the night, Lyra realized that she had found something she had thought lost forever: hope. And it had come in the form of a human, a species she had once thought to be nothing more than barbarians. But Jace had shown her that there was more to humanity than violence and cruelty. He had shown her that even in the darkest of places, there was still light. And for that, she would be forever grateful. The Colosseum of Zoreth was never the same after that night. The explosion had caused significant damage, and the arena's reputation was tarnished. The slavers who had captured Lyra were arrested, and the piranhas were destroyed. Jace and Lyra disappeared into the stars, their fates intertwined. They became legends, their story told and retold across the galaxy. A story of courage, of hope, and of the unbreakable bond between two beings from different worlds. And though they faced many challenges in the years to come, they faced them together. For they had learned that even in the vastness of the universe, they were never truly alone. As long as they had each other, they could overcome anything.